Welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast with author Sarah F. Hathaway and co-host Chen Gibson. Blending survival, fiction, and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sarah F. Hathaway and Chen Gibson.
Hello, and welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 316, season 10, episode 7. So, hey, guys, what's up? Hi, Chin, how are you?
Hey, Chin's up. Lucky number 7.
I know. Yeah. Welcome. Oh, man. Crazy day.
We're both tired today.
I know. It's tired out. You know, I've been going just gangbusters with projects. And so have you, my friend. So I know the feeling there, the manual labor and things as well. But, yeah, we're here. We got the bitter end going on, and we made it. We're going to be not here. I want to announce this now. We're going to be not here the last week of September because we will be at prepper camp. So, and I'm not doing a show from there. We're just going to take the week off. Like, not even going to go there. So
come say hi.
Yes. All right. And we got Ellen over in the chat room. What's up, Ellen? So we're going to be doing a little conversating later. I was like, you know, just remind me because I have 8 billion things going on and I'm just a super flake. So, yeah. Alrighty, let's just go ahead and jump into it because I actually have a lot of content for today. It's a show I'm really passionate about. And so I just want to jump in and start navigating the waters. Last week on the bitter end, Dexter had his little emotional issues. He's fighting with his girlfriend and all upset over his baby and all this horrible stuff he's got going on. So we talked a little bit about how, you know, it's rough for kids, especially at that age anyway. And then imagine going through the apocalypse and then having women issues. Yeah. Yay, Dex.
Women issues.
Right? Women issues. Have a baby with another girl. Don't really love her, but yeah.
Yep.
So this week we dive back into Erika's story. And of course, for you live listeners on Twitch, you got to go check the recording or head on over to your membership site. And the audiobook is up over there. Audiobook of the month's about to get switched up. But the bitter end will stay up there for you guys to follow along if you're here live. So if you haven't read it, which I know most of my members already have, so that's good. If you haven't read it and you're listening live on Twitch, you might want to like plug your ears for a few seconds or something because we're going to do a little talking about it and it might be it's definitely going to be some spoilers.
Good stuff, though.
Chapter 7. It's your turn, Erika told Gini, stepping away from the squat bar. I can't do that much weight, Gini complained. You'd be surprised at what you can do. Give it a try. I'll spot you, Erika assured her, taking up a stance behind her so she could help with the bar if needed. Gini pushed the weight up and down and didn't even need assistance. I did it, she elated, putting the bar back on the rack. Erika loaded more weight on the bar. Dang, Erika, Gini commented, standing back to watch Erika work. Engaged in the exercise, the women noticed Bennet's approach. You're getting soft, Cupcake, Bennet teased, analyzing the amount of weight on the bar. What are you doing here anyway, Bennet? I thought you were too busy to train with me, Erika teased him. Gini took her position under the bar, and Bennet handed Erika her towel. Danny wants to go out on a mission, Bennet told her. Erika wiped her face with the towel, thinking on his words. What did you tell him? She wondered. No, of course, Bennet responded, surprised by her response. I thought you would be pissed that he would want to put himself in that kind of danger. Erika turned from watching Gini struggle under the bar and looked at Bennet seriously. How can I ask anyone else to die and keep my own son safe from the fight? We're all in this together. Bennet was quiet for a moment, surprised by her clear reasoning. It's a rational stance, Erika, Bennet agreed with her. However, it's not just the fact that it's dangerous. He is your son. The bounty hunters would love to get their hands on him. What wouldn't you do for your children, Erika? Nothing, Erika admitted, taking her turn at the bar again. Slipping under the cold steel, she felt its weight heavy upon her shoulders. Her legs burned and strained as they bent, but she held the position for a second and then straightened them again. When she had performed the squatting motion 12 times, she traded spots with Gini. As the younger woman became consumed with her efforts, Bennet whispered to Erika, Dexter's mind is a mess. Can you blame him? Erika wondered. No. All I can do is try to provide focus, Bennet responded, quiet for a moment afterward. What? Erika wondered, sensing there was more he wanted to say. Megan told him what you said about trading yourself for the child, Bennet professed quietly. Erika looked at him as she wiped her face again. Gini was done at the bar and Erika stepped back under it. The time pushing the weight allowed her to collect her thoughts, but she couldn't think of any way to respond. So, she countered as Gini replaced her. Bennet scowled back at her. I'm not going to do anything stupid, Bennet, she assured him. And I know you've taken on my safety as your personal mission, but we have to consider the option. I have a lot less life left than his. That's exactly the kind of talk I don't want to hear from you, Bennet scolded her. Let's finish this in my office. Gini, I'll be right back, Erika told her, following Bennet into the rooms in the back. Bennet hung back by the door as Erika walked through it and closed it behind her. Bennet, I've already had this conversation with Vince. I know how you two feel about the issue, Erika professed, turning to face him. But you still want me to keep the option on the table, he asked. Yes, she told him. And you think TJ would honor his word and give up the child, Bennet asked calmly. Yes, she answered. Bennet looked at her curiously. He'd just go quietly into the night and not hunt down and slaughter your family just to get inside your head, he asked. She stood thinking on his question as the sweat beads slowly dripped down her forehead. Can you honestly tell me that, Hopscotch? Bennet prodded, urging her to answer. No, she replied reluctantly. Then the option is off the table. It solves nothing and will only destroy the people's hope even further, he insisted. Erika thought about his explanation and nodded at him. Can we just go in guns blazing and put a bullet in that son of a bitch's head? Bennet smiled at her. We will, but for now, we need to strengthen our defenses at the border, he replied. Erika looked at him curiously. How are we going to accomplish that in this cold? I don't know, but word is we're going to have new neighbors across the lake, he explained. How do you mean? Erika wondered. The Supreme General is moving the capital to Dallas. No doubt Swenson will be coming along as well, and he's never far from the Supreme General's side these days. The glacial movement? Erika wondered, curious why they would make such a drastic move. Yeah, Bennet replied. Great. Tough battles on two fronts in the freezing cold, Erika concluded. We have to focus on Javier first. There's no way we can sustain being wedged into a corner for very long. I can't wait to see the look on that bastard's face when he meets his death, Erika confessed. You're not going, Bennet told her flatly. I need you to stay here and organize the training details. Of course, Erika mumbled, heading towards the door. Bennet grabbed her arm, stopping her from leaving. What? He asked. I have to live, Bennet, Erika pleaded with him. I love you and respect you, but I have to fight. It's what I was born to do. I don't know anything else. And you'll never know anything else unless you try, Bennet told her. I did try, but I get in trouble for that too, Erika retorted. Erika, you went outside the wall with a minimal guard detail. After what happened in Denver, I can't believe you would do that. How do you think I was going to respond? All I did was trade one cage for another, Erika countered. Shut your mouth, Erika, Bennet snapped, raising his voice. There's hardly anything left out there. You're safer here, and you have your friends and family here. You didn't trade one cage for another. You escaped a tyrannical monster and returned to a new home where he can't get you. Quit your freaking babbling and focus on your job here. Bennet hadn't spoken to her so bluntly in a long time. She stood, lost in thought, considering his opinion. You're right. I'm sorry, she declared, realizing the truth of his statement. We're all getting cabin fever, he admitted, turning his head to the sound of knocking at the door. Michelle entered. I hope I'm not interrupting, she suggested, as her strawberry brown hair bounced in the air. She walked over to Bennet. He wrapped her up in his arms and held her tightly. We were just finishing up. Everything okay, you two? She asked innocently. Yup, Erika responded. We're on the same page. Good, then let's go get some lunch before we miss it, she directed. You two go ahead. I'm going to find Gini and head back to the showers, Erika declared. No skipping meals, Bennet told her with a scowl. I won't, Mom, Erika replied sarcastically. Don't worry, Bennet. I'll get leftovers at Betsy's. I'm going to ask her if you did or not, Bennet teased her. Erika smiled widely at him. Of course, you always do, she said affectionately as she left the two of them. Gini was finishing up at the rowing machine when Erika found her. What did he want? Gini asked suspiciously. The feds are moving the capital to Dallas. They're going to be right on our doorstep, Erika informed her. Maybe we should try and train more, Gini suggested. Erika smiled at her. No, we need to go get showered and go to Betsy's for lunch. Gini looked up at her curiously, asking, Bennett's orders? Yup, Erika admitted, disgruntled. As they walked down the underground hallway, Gini asked her, Erika, you're the lone survivor in the face of the resistance. Why do you take orders from him? You don't have to. He doesn't own you. No, Gini, he doesn't own me. I take orders from Bennet because I want to. He looks out for my family and me. He can be a dick sometimes, but he does it out of love. We've come a long way together. Gini was quiet for a moment, processing her explanation. She never knew anything but slavery. Most of the men in her life she had feared. It was hard to understand the relationship that existed between Erika and Bennet. Gini rapidly changed the subject. Would you really go back to TJ in exchange for a baby? She blurted out. You heard that? Erika asked. Gini looked down, embarrassed. She knew the information wasn't for her ears. Yes, I heard. Watching Gini's body language, Erika was surprised to see the timid look that she used to display constantly in Swenson's home. Erika smiled at her softly. It's okay, Gini. I wouldn't have said it around you unless I trusted you, Erika assured her. You want to know a secret? Gini looked up at her, straightening herself out with confidence, and replied, Yes. This is between you and me, Erika stressed. He's my grandson. It's Dexter's baby. Oh, Gini replied, realizing the tough decision they were facing. So you're asking me, would I give myself up for a grandchild I haven't met yet? I wouldn't want to, but yes, I would in a heartbeat. The problem is, having me wouldn't stop TJ. He'd continue on with his master plan. He would find you and my whole family and kill you slowly in front of my eyes just to destroy me. And I can never let that happen. You know him well, Gini admitted. As they reached the women's shower room, Penny was just finishing up. After greeting one another, Erika commented, You're here awfully late today. No, this is round 2. I was training a young man over in preservation, and he accidentally dumped a whole bottle of vinegar all over me. I don't think I will ever get the smell out, not to mention all the products he wasted. We all make mistakes, right? Erika suggested. I guess, but I was saving this outfit for next week. Now I'll have to do laundry early, Penny huffed. The container he spilled had half of our supply of mother in it. It's going to take weeks to get more grown, Penny continued to complain while she fixed her blonde curls about her face. Gini looked at her, confused by her explanation. The mother is a bacteria starter. It's what we use to make the vinegar faster, Penny commented, finishing up. Oh, Gini replied like she understood. Basically, we add the mother to the wine and make the vinegar faster, Penny explained. You should come by and take a look one day. I will. It sounds interesting, Gini admitted. I better get back to it. See you later, ladies, Penny said, leaving out the door. All right, so we find Erika in the weight room, her favorite place to be, pushing some iron with Gini. And Gini was like Swenson's little slave girl, and now she's free. And so brings up an interesting topic for the day. And that's where we're going to hover. That's where we're going to stick around. But Erika and Bennet are discussing the fact that Javier is now just north of them. Swenson's going to be over there on the east, and they're feeling a little boxed in. Not a good strategic position to be in.
Not with Swenson around.
No. And then his buddy up north, and they haven't even. Mm-hmm. Oh no, okay. And then they talk about Danny going out in the field, and Erika's like, whatever, how can I ask other kids to go out there if I can't ask my own kid? Yeah, this is where Erika's fictional character kind of breaks away from my own, but it's true, I mean, I don't know, that's a tough one. How young is too young to be out there? Bennet and Erika discussed the fact that Erika had mentioned turning herself back over to Swenson in exchange for the baby.
Because nothing could go wrong with that plan.
No, that's totally a good plan. She could escape again, like no problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's like, really? You think that, Swenson's just going to be like, oh yeah, totally make the deal and everything's going to be fine. So I have to agree with Bennet on that one, and I think that Erika figures that out too. But in the meantime, Gini has a hard time with rationalizing how Erika and Bennet's relationship works, because she's like, you're such a strong woman, you don't have to listen to this guy. Why would you listen to this guy? Sometimes he's a jerk, and like, why would you put up with that? And it's just, they have so much history together, and the mentor relationship, and Bennett's been, her guardian angel through a lot of stuff. So they've come a long way in trying to, get Gini to understand that as a challenge. So it really got me interested in on how do people cope with the fact that they've been human trafficked or they've been treated as a slave. How do they cope once that situation's over? Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's never over. That's something you don't get over. I had friends who were, not, so to speak, trafficked when they were little, but maybe abused. And there's definitely physical problems, not just psychological problems, but physical problems that can come along with that type of activity. So that's why it's highly frowned upon and not right.
Yeah, deep rooted. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I was raised a lot differently than to understand how any of that kind of thought process works. So I just deal with the reality that some people do think that way, and I can't agree that it's a good way to think at all. So modern day slavery. Yes, slavery exists today. And it's hard to get a really hard number because it's really frowned upon. I mean, in the United States, slavery is illegal, but it still happens here. So you're not going to be able to get a solid number on how many people are actually in this position.
No, because the people that are controlling don't want to talk about it, and then the people being controlled, a lot of times they're being emotionally abused. Yeah, so
right.
And like your family or something will suffer if you so.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of threats like that.
So they're
and
not
then
going to
the Stockholm
report
Syndrome
it.
too.
Yeah. And
on top of it.
And I'm sure there's shame, misplaced shame, but shame in being in that position that they're not going to want to talk about it either.
Right. Yeah, a lot of drug addiction and whatnot as well.
Yeah.
So those are all challenges. It's a very challenging situation. So 7 things you might not know about modern day slavery. This is from CRS.org. The real definition is the act of harboring, recruiting, transporting, providing, or obtaining a person for labor or commercial sex acts through the use of force, fraud, or coercion. So the big kind of myth is that human trafficking, right, kind of implies that you're being moved from one place to another. And in this case, you don't necessarily have to be moved from one place to another. You could be in your hometown and you're still, being taken prisoner or whatever, and still not be that far from home. We've had lots of cases of that. Oh, I don't think you're on Twitch, Jen. Are you on Twitch?
I am not.
Okay,
No.
Ellen has a special coin for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have a special coin for Ellen.
If we can ever get Ellen out of Australia, that's a whole nother show
right
now. Yeah. So types of slavery, sex, forced labor, domestic servitude, forced marriage, organ removal. So they just sell people for their organs. How horrific is that?
That's crazy, right? Still.
Yeah, I know.
Modern day, that is insane.
And then children are used for begging, the sex trade, and for warfare. They actually start training them when they're really little. We were talking about that last week.
The machete stuff. Yeah.
So there's lots of causes that get people hooked into this. It can be economic, social, political. It's not poverty alone that makes you vulnerable. There's other factors like corruption or civil unrest, weak government that is not taking action against human trafficking. Hint, hint. Lack of access to education, jobs, so they see it as a way of bettering your future. Dysfunctional families, lack of human rights, and then economic disruptions. Well, bottom line is, human trafficking is very, very lucrative. The International Labor Organization put it at $150 billion per year industry.
That's insane.
Right?
Still, yeah.
Yeah. In modern day, when you're horrific things happened in the past. Well, guess what? Horrific things are still happening right now. Human trafficking is everywhere. No country's immune from this. And especially not the United States is not immune. And it's most prevalent in California, New York, Florida, and Texas, which I've found kind of disheartening, honestly.
Coming up from the south.
Yeah. Women and children are most often used in the sex slaves, and then men are used for labor for the most part. 1 in 5 people in slavery as a child. So, God save the children, right? Migrants are very vulnerable to human trafficking. Any humanitarian aid that's being lent to people that are on the move for migrant reasons should involve an anti-human trafficking end of it, because if that is overlooked, I mean, so many of these people are just vulnerable to human trafficking. Imagine what's flooding across the United States border right now. How many of those kids could just go missing and nobody would ever know what happened to them? I mean, open up the floodgates, so to speak.
Yep.
So to stop it, it's the 3 Ps: prevent, protect victims, and prosecute. And there are some fine men and women out there doing a dang good job. And, they don't get a lot of funding and whatnot. They do it because they care about other people. So, check that out there. It's not hard to find. So what happens when these people return home? So you're lucky enough to be rescued by one of these awesome units that goes out and they help people. So HRW.org did an article on women from Nigeria that when they return home. And, here in the United States, we're going to get there, but you'd think like there's this big social network for people. And so, but like Nigeria, what's happening to women there? Because so much of it happens. So usually they're returned to like an orphan or an orphanage rather than their abusive family, which can be a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times the families will actually look down on them. It's like, not only, did you just go through probably a horrific experience, but now you can't even go back home. They are usually feeling very powerless and suicidal. There's a major lack of support services there, and they still feel like prisoners. I mean, the orphanages will control how, if they're allowed to go out, who's allowed to visit them, that kind of thing. So an interview with 76 girls and women, 20 of them were age 8 to 17. It's horrible. They suffer with depression, anxiety, insomnia, flashbacks, physical problems that can limit the work. So that's why I was saying, like, there's some major physical problems that can result from, as far as, STDs and bladder issues and all kinds of physical issues that result. These women awful, they're expected like, oh, you're free now. You can just bounce back to reality, right? Well, not really. And they struggle after that to provide for their families. And then the families blame them for it. So the government and non-government organizations are trying to step up with shelters, medical care, rehabilitation, and reintegration programs. But they're really limited to the number of people that they can help. And the Nigerian authorities will actually detain survivors, like I said, and limit their movement. So, I mean, could you imagine now, like, you're free, but you've been arrested, basically? That's really crazy to me. So it's just a different look on life and realities. Did I lose you, Chin?
No, can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard a weird beeping in my ears. That was weird. I'm going to check my recorders just because I'm not going to let you guys down this time. No,
I didn't hear anything.
That was kind of a bummer last time. Okay, so continuing on, in the United States, our runaway population, these kids that run away from foster care, they run away from their homes, they are some of the most vulnerable populations to being human trafficked. And Psychology Today did this article about USA runaways and how these people are being turned into a commodity. And it's disgusting. So after they're lucky enough to be rescued, like we were saying, they have the STDs, cancer, infertility problems, heart disease, urinary tract infections, and mentally they struggle with PTSD, mood swings, eating disorders, and addiction. Because a lot of times whoever was handling them, they put them on drugs to keep them them addicted.
Keep them controlled. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And they've literally been socially alienated. So like may have been locked up in a room for years, not knowing what's been happening in the world, all of the things that we take for granted with our current affairs and all this type of activity, they have missed it all. And so literally when they come back to reality, they have to learn to read and write again. They have to learn what happened in the world while they were gone. And everybody's like, oh, you're free, you're normal, you can just figure it out for yourself. But that's a really challenging proposition. We can take Erika's story, for example, when you've had somebody telling you what to do for so long. And now you're just like, oh, figure it out. You're going to go back to college, or what are you going to do? I mean, yep. I could see where that would be really, really challenging. And
the other thing, I would think it's hard to have normal conversations with people too. I mean, you're not going to say,
right?
This is what I did last year.
Yeah, to like share your experiences. What did you do last year? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know, the pop culture and all sports and all that kind of stuff, which is normal conversations. It'd be, well, why didn't you know it, right?
Yeah. Where have you been? You've been under a rock?
Just be like triggers for these poor people. Yeah.
It's true. A lot of times the best ways for these individuals to recover is by helping others. Mm-hmm. Because then you have, like you say, you can share in those experiences. You can have those conversations. And it's one of the best ways that they've found is by forming victim groups and then helping each other, kind of similar to like AA or something like that. But,
yep.
To make sure that everybody's there helping each other. So rebuilding a life after human trafficking, I found this site. It's called rescue.org. And it was a story about this woman who came to the United States under the impression that if she did this domestic work for X amount of time, she was going to get her green card and that everything was going to be okay. And they basically detained her for much longer and they did pay her, but it was $1 or something a day. So you can't do anything with that. And she ended up getting hold of the IRC, the International Rescue Committee, and the Arizona League to End Regional Trafficking. It's called Alert, helped her out, and they provide comprehensive case management, legal assistance, safety programs, employment, and physical and mental health services for these people. So if you guys are looking to support somebody who's on the front lines, who's tackling these problems, that's a great organization to get involved with, either the International Rescue Committee or the Arizona League to End Regional Trafficking. It's called Alert. Well, as I mentioned in the beginning, there's really no escape. Once this happens to you, you have memories that haunt you, like stupid stuff that you might have done that you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that or whatever. But this is severe. This is out of your control. This is emotionally and mentally stunting. And I mean, if you've talked to anybody who went through an experience like that when they were a child, maybe not even being trafficked, but just being, sexually molested as a child. It's not something you get over. It's not something that goes away. This is something you deal with forever. And it usually has to be a very good friend for them to share those types of things with you and to, so you can share in their experiences, which is horrific, I gotta say. The Stockholm Syndrome. So for those of you who don't know, we did an episode on this before. But many survivors, they actually feel a closeness with whoever was holding them captive. And it will cause them to marginalize the damage that was done to them or think it was their fault. And it may prevent them, like you said in the beginning, Chin, from actually seeking help, from reaching out and being like, hey, we need help for this.
Yeah.
They idolize suicide. So they've thought about it. They have a plan for it. They have thought about seriously taking themselves out of the world. I know like I say, I have quite a few friends that were molested and whatnot. And I've shared a lot of those stories with them, and it breaks your heart. You're like, oh, I had a hard childhood because, my parents drank a lot or whatever. And I was like, yes, nothing compared to what these people went through. So you never know. That's why you always have to, you don't know until you walked in somebody else's shoes what they've been through. So take it easy on people.
What got them to where they are today. Yeah.
Right. Take it easy on people. Everybody's so quick to judge nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
The other problem is parents who get their kids back, they can actually have an ability to heal and rationalize themselves. So they're struggling to cope with the fact that their kids were taken, and when they get them back, they expect to have like their kid back.
Right.
Like for example, when Vince got Erika back, right? And, he's expecting to have her back, and she's been through this really, really traumatic period. And so that's hard to rationalize when you love somebody so much and you just want it to be what it was, but it will never be what it was. You have to build something new. So that can have a big negative effect on the child as well, or the individual. So there are ways to help. You can purchase a gift for survivors. The CRS helps provide services. You can help with funding over there. Prevention. People need to prosper at home. So whatever we can do in our communities to make them a better place, to help emotionally support people within our communities and not let these families just fall into the cracks, that's a great way to start. I mean, you can prevent a lot of problems if you just start in your own backyard, right?
Yeah.
Take action. If you think you see somebody who's being human trafficked, by all means, call. Better to be, wrong, but if you're right, you can save a life. And that to me is a whole lot more important than being wrong. So the number for the hotline is 888-373-7888. And I'll go ahead and put that in the chat box as well. But that is the human trafficking hotline, for in case you think somebody's being human trafficked. And I know I've talked about the story on the podcast before about the flight attendant that saw this young girl, and she was like, something's wrong here, and called the hotline, and sure enough, she was being human trafficked. So, call. It's worth it. You save a life, And it's confidential. They're there all the time. So that cheery topic, but, that's
I bet the site did. So I haven't been to the site yet, but do they have like examples of like
things
indicators
you should look for?
Yes, yeah, because that might be worth everybody just taking a minute to watch the video or read through the suggestions.
Yes.
So you would, so you could be not on the lookout, but just be alert to little indicators.
But you're like, you know what, that young girl's with that dude, and something might be off there.
Yeah, my gut just doesn't feel right on this.
Yeah. And it happens in so many like small towns and things like that, like where you wouldn't think like things like that were happening, but it does. So like I say, better to be safe, on the safe side than not. And that is one reason why I brought it. I was so horrified to learn so much about human trafficking and its prevalence. And it seems like we focus so much on what happened in the past, and I know it was horrific because any of this is horrific. But what are we doing to make sure it doesn't exist anymore? And that's really why I wanted to highlight it in my novels as well, so we can focus on it. Alrighty, y'all know what time it is. Hold on. It is time for Changing Earth News. News. I've been working on my audio dramas too much. But they're turning out so cool. I cannot wait. And I don't know if I've announced it yet or not, but I'm going to have its own podcast channel for the audio dramas. Totally revamped, remixed. Beautiful work. And they're turning out really, really great. So, and then season 2 will be short to follow after that. But we're going to go back to season 1 and give that some special love. All right, change in Earth news. So the sun, we had a couple of really big CMEs come off the sun. And somehow there's missing data in the data trends. So that didn't help very much. But there's lots of redundant programs there. So Ben was able to get some impact of what happened. And it wasn't as bad as what was forecasted. So that's a good, really good indicator. There are some spots that we, that you should have your eyes on right now. The sun is upticking into its next cycle. So we need to keep eyes on it and make sure everything's all good, because that could be like the game changer in a moment. But yeah, Chen was teaching me how to make my Faraday cage and everything. Yeah.
We had a little chat back and forth.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? They were out of metal trash cans at Tractor Supply.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah, we had to look. We did this some time ago, but we had to look around because we were nesting them, like I told you.
Yeah.
And to find the one to go inside was tough.
Mm-hmm. That's more challenging, right? Because you have to get the big one and then stop.
Because
two
is one.
And one is none. I don't know, man. There's going to be so much stuff going wrong if we get hit with one of those that, we say la vie at that point. Yeah, so we got the new spots forming. We had a couple of earthquakes worth mentioning, some serious ones. The West Coast did rattle a little bit, but the big story over there is still the fires for sure. There was a 6.3 at the Kermadec Islands down in New Zealand, but a little bit closer to Ellen than it is to us. And a 5.0 struck in Turkey, and it did some pretty severe damage. There was some good footage that came out of Turkey, as far as nobody injured or anything. So that's why I say good footage, because it was just structural type stuff. It was only 7 miles under the surface, so when it's that high up, you're gonna see some cool destruction from it. The fires, SoCal had a 12,000 acre fire. That one was just more notable because it was in the Riverside area that's much more populated. And the fire up north, it's called the Culver Fire. The Dixie's still burning, by the way. They had to basically pull off that one because that was just burning out of control. But the Culver Fire was the one burning up the 50 right by my old house, burning to South Lake. And it's only 50% contained still, but the firefighters have done some spectacular work, and it looks like they are going to be able to save South Lake Tahoe from going up in flames. That would have been really sad to watch that town go. So there's a lot of money wrapped up in there, and it would have been from an insurance standpoint, it would have been a nightmare, I'll tell you that much. Spain saw, okay, how many millimeters is what would we measure it? Feet. How many millimeters in a feet, Chin? Because you're going to fact check me anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't even say it anymore.
Ask Ellen.
Chin.
She's still in a...
Oh, yeah. Is Ellen, you still in the chat room? How many millimeters in a foot? She's like, I don't know. I have to Google it.
1 foot equals 304.8 millimeters.
308? So that's 1 foot. Okay.
304.8.
See,
So
I think they always
305.
blow Spain out of proportion, man. They're like, oh, major wildfire. It's like not even a dot of what California gets. Anyway,
You said
Spain,
millimeters, right?
yeah, millimeters. They got 118 millimeters of rain in an hour. 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that? Like almost half a foot in an hour?
Yeah, 6 inches.
Louisiana saw some major flooding as well from Ida, because, Ida made landfall on the 30th. Nepal, tons of damage there. 7 dead and 147 people missing from heavy rains up in the mountains just coming down and hammering them. So prayers to those people there. Mexico, it wasn't cool, but thankfully nobody was injured, but the whole marketplace in this town, Jorge Juanez Cantu flooded. And it just took out the whole thing. It was pretty cool to watch. New Zealand, they had in Kemia, I don't know how to do a New Zealand accent. I'd have to call up Ellen. Kemia. It was the second wettest day in recorded history, and they got 149% of August normal rainfall in 14 hours. That's insane, dude. Colombia situation is critical due to the 6-hour rain that just flooded everything. Spain, again on the list. This was for the first. They had cars literally being washed out into the Mediterranean. And they had 2 big incidences there on the first. And then Russia had 82 homes flooded in like south central Russia. So I can never, I'm not even going to try to say the Russian town names. Just I give up. And same with this river in Pennsylvania. The Schuylkill River. Schuykill. Schwaykiller? Kind of looks like that.
That's entertaining.
Yeah. It flooded mega in Pennsylvania, and that was from, Ida went up and then sat on New York, New Jersey, Maryland.
Oh, yeah.
For a while. It was not cool.
That's how I just pulled up. 2 days ago, they were over 50 dead in the Northeast.
Yeah.
I know last time I saw like New York City was just like
do you see the rats, like the subways? The rats are just pouring out. Oh, man, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was insane.
Eastern China also saw flooding and landslides, and Bangladesh got hit hard. 100,000 people affected by flooding, like 50,000 people evacuated. This is insane, like above normal type numbers. I mean, you get these epic rainfalls, but not on this, like, oh, boom, ba-boom, 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 You're supposed to get them like once in a rare while. So Ida made landfall in Louisiana. Nora hit Mexico. One person was dead in Puerto Vallarta. I honeymooned in Puerto Vallarta, so that's kind of, I was like, oh no, I've been there. Oh man, that doesn't look cool. And they do get a good amount of flooding. They have really high sidewalks because of it. But this was definitely above normal. They had buildings. And so if they already have sidewalks that are like 3 foot high, say, and it's coming up over those sidewalks, that's a major flooding. And then Ida hit the northeast, like we were saying, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland. Etna woke back up, the Etna volcano, and in Italy, it had been calm for like 3 weeks, but it blasted again. In Nicaragua, the Teluk volcano erupted on the 1st, and the one in Hawaii, this one I was just watching today. Oh golly, it begins with a Kilauea. Kilauea. Is showing major hot spots, earthquakes. It's looking like Kilauea is going to be erupting again soon, so we have eyes on that one. Sarah Land, Alabama. I like that one. I picked that one out. Sarah Land.
Sarah Land.
Yeah, they even spell it right. Sarah Land.
Where are you going on vacation?
I'm going to Sarah Land. Mm-hmm.
It's like after you win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, when I'm doing my New York bestsellers interview.
I'm going to Saraland.
I'm going to Saraland. I'm going to have to check it out now. It's probably like a little dot. Anyway, 3 were injured there by a tornado. And they're still having all those water spouts in Russia. They're pretty cool to watch, though. South Africa saw snow again. Like a lot of snow. It's not normal, and this is the second time I've been reporting on it this year. So that's pretty incredible. Canada just got a strong summer storm with golf ball size hail and 90-mile-an-hour winds.
That's not a good combination.
No. Not to be outdone, Denver just got hit with one heck of a storm as well with mega hail there, but not as big, you know. Okay, so let's go into our earthquake maps, because now I have a spreadsheet going for the volcanoes. I mean, I haven't been the earthquake activity has been actually slowed a little bit as of late, which is it's good because nobody's being injured by them. But with the amount of activity that we had and the way things are lined up, it's also bad because it could be like a lockup, you know, like just locking, getting ready for a mega earthquake. So not that I write books based on that or anything.
No.
But, you know, I always keep my eyes on that kind of stuff because, well, if you look at any of like the Bible, the Hopi, they all talk about the great quake that will start things off that, you know, so, I mean, everyone's like, oh, earthquake, that's a weird natural disaster to have start things off. And I'm like, is it? Have you researched like the history there? So we'll see. Anyway, volcanic activity. We are up at 26 active volcanoes right now. That is our high number. Since I've been recording for these past 2 months, we've never gone above 26 active at one time. So that is pretty much our high point. Minor activity, we're at 17, which is on the low end for sure. That's the same as it was last week, but it's on the low end of our scale. But with 26 erupting, you know, 17 minor activity. And then 38 in unrest. And that is at the way low end of things. So like I was saying about the earthquakes, you got to wonder, like, is it really, you know, are we just going into a calming period or are we getting ready to get disrupted? So that it just depends on what the sun does and what, you know, the magnetics of our planet. I'd like to check out the rotation, what the rotation speed's at right now, because they've been playing with those numbers a lot this year as well. Because rotation speed makes a difference for the magma, how everything's moving and things like that. So all very technical stuff.
How fast are we going around?
Yeah, exactly. It matters because of the friction and whatnot. But I'm sure I'm over. I told you I had a lot to present today. But I'm sure once we add in our reading for the day, we're going to be over. So that's all I got for today. I won't keep on keeping on.
Sarah loves her Earth news.
I love my Earth. I do. It's so cool to watch it in motion. I mean, it's just fascinating to me. I really should have like got a minor in geology or something.
You should have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now I just don't have now I have so many other things to worry about. I'll just go with the layman's. I'm good.
Hey, I got good news for you.
What's that?
Saratown actually has a Huddle House and a Waffle House.
What? I can go to Saratown or Saraland of Waffle House.
Yep, Saraland has Waffle House and a Huddle House.
Is that on the way to prepper camp for me?
I'll have to map it out for you.
Oh, man. I might be stopping through Saraland. I'll be like, what up, everybody? Changing Earth.
You probably like stroll into town. They give you a key. The big gold key.
I don't know about that. All right, guys. If you want to support the show, love you. If you do, that'd be great. You can head on over to changingearthseries.com. It's changingearthseries.com. Support the show. We've got some cool interviews coming up. Next week, we're going to have Butch back on the show. And then I'm setting one up with a gentleman I met today, actually, in one of my the film master classes. And he has some cool stories from work that he did in the Middle East and whatnot. So we'll have to just find a place that sits right for him. So love you if you support the show. That'd be great. changingearthseries.com. I've got tons of membership goodies, and I'll jump through hoops if you want me to. Just go ahead and reach on out. That's what I do for peeps. And not like Chan ever does any of that. Nah. No.
You need a big hoop.
Yeah, you need a big hoop, dude. Like a really tall one. Also, if you need long-term food supply, go over to preparewithchangingearth.com. Order your long-term food supply. You're going to need it, and it helps support the show. So that's preparewithchangingearth.com. Thank you for coming on to the live chat. Always great to see you in there. And I hope to see many more of you in there. We go live. Well, today we're a little late, but we usually go live at 5:30 on Sunday Central Standard Time. So I'd love to see you over in the chat room. It just adds another dynamic to the show. And sending out love to Miss Ellen in Australia. And I hope you're well down there. Everything's going good. Because from what we've been hearing over here, it's crazy times.
Right.
But, you never know what to
sneak
believe.
A boat down there.
I know, but, I don't know. Because there's times they hear crazy things about what's going on up here, and it's not true either. So, we're getting Ellen on the show. We just have to find the right moment when the stars align. So, and we'll probably just do the whole show on that. But as long as we don't get too edgy. I'm trying to be good. Trying to control the mouth. Alrighty, guys. Thanks very much for coming with us on the adventure. And until next time, remember, dream,
survive,
thrive.
Thank you for joining Sarah and Chen for this episode of the Changing Earth podcast. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Day After Disaster at www.authorSarahFHathaway.com. If you love the Changing Earth series,